Good afternoon once again. My name's Tom Harman. I'm the director for the Center for Accelerating Innovation. As I like to say, it's the coolest title in the world, but it doesn't quite fit on a business card. It's a little bit longer than I like. And I have the fun of kicking off this session looking at the National State Transportation Innovation Council Network. And our slogan for this year is going to be in an era of rapid change. And I think that is very, very, very much true with all the things that are going on. So one of my favorite series of phrases with regard to change, and in this case rapid change, is if you resist change, you die. If you accept it, you will survive. But if you actually lead it, that's when you thrive. And that's what we're looking to do with this network. We want to thrive within this change environment and be leaders as we do that. So throughout today, and for the next couple weeks, as you think back on the session, if you have an idea or a thought or something you want to share, we have a crowdsourcing email set up, and it's innovation@dot.gov. So if you just want to shoot us a note at any time, my office is there watching this email address. We used it for the regional summits for this round of Everyday Counts. And it's just one of many different communication tools that are available to you as you have thoughts and suggestions. So again, any thought or comment either today or as you're flying back from this week, if you just have an idea. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the STICs. It could be Everyday Counts, any component of the program. Just please drop us a line and we will continue the conversation. So why are we here today? I need your help. Everybody in this room today is extremely important. We want to try and look at this thing of innovation and how we can foster a culture of innovation. It's more of a mindset. This is the soft side, and it's not hard engineering. How can we look at the National STIC network and make it even stronger? In April of last year, we solidified the national network. We ended up having a STIC stood up in every state. Say that 3 times fast. So we were able to put this network in place, but a few of them are thriving, but others are very young relationships. So as we transition into this next phase, how do we strengthen them? And then the last one is the STICs do a lot of things associated with the Everyday Counts initiative, but they're also a fertile ground for things beyond Everyday Counts. In Pennsylvania, for example, about half the innovations that they look at through their STIC are not Everyday Counts, and that's exciting. So there's a potential for feeding that pipeline for EDC that we're looking for as well, and how can we do that better? So for my presentation today, I want to share a little philosophy, and this was reinforced during the regional summits. We hosted 7 regional summits across the nation. I'm glad to not be on that travel schedule. But we heard in our town hall sessions on the STICs kind of a continuing theme, and I've kind of couched those into 10 areas, and I want to share those back with you. And when we do the breakouts here today, we're going to be focusing on 4 of those areas. The national network, and specifically how we're going to work today, and then the next steps beyond that. So here's what I gleaned from our town hall sessions. The user's right. You got to over-communicate the why. Change, you're going to have resistance. Champions and peer-to-peer are essential. Strive for simplicity, the network, and that's the STICs for us. Reinforcing the how, a compelling story, managing change, and celebrate and learn from mistakes. So let's kind of walk through these a little bit. So the first, the user is right. One of the beauties of the STIC network is the user is in the room. And for a number of the STICs, as they've evolved, they've either included their research arm or they have a very strong liaison with their research arm within their state. And being in an environment where you can listen and learn and truly understand the needs of the end user, I think, is essential. The over-communicate the why, as engineers, and I am an engineer, sometimes we get a little too much into the details, and if you don't start with why, you're going to run into resistance, or if you give too much detail, you're going to have some issues there as well. On the resistance of change, I've done technology transfer some level throughout my career, and change is disruptive. You're asking somebody to do something either in addition to or in place of something else, and that's disruptive. And you have to know that up front that you're going to do that. And any change that you ask somebody to do should have a significant impact. If it's just incremental, you're going to undermine trust. Fostering champions and peer-to-peer, I think this is one of the greatest avenues we can explore with regard to the STIC network, is being able to bridge that state-to-state travel or get people out so they can see what others are doing and learn. When peers talk to peers, there's usually instant trust because people have walked a mile in your shoes. The strive for simplicity. Our message needs to be clear. Too much information requires screening out. You just have to filter it out. So striving for simplicity is important as you're solidifying that why. The network. Build it, establish it, build it, and then leverage it. We have established a national STIC network. Each one of our divisions is working closely with their state partners to have a meeting on innovation. Now we need to build and grow and nurture it, and then leverage it to its max. When we went around with the regional summits, we heard of a few STICs that are starting to think very regionally. They want to have regional STIC networks. They're starting to evolve and morph into their own, and that's very, very powerful. Number 7 is reinforcing the how as we get out there with the specific innovation. Everybody learns a little bit differently. Millennials learn differently than boomers on down the line. And we have to make sure that we are adapting what we do and telling a compelling story. So that ties into both 7 and 8 in a way that's the send and receive is what you want. And on the telling the compelling story, we want to tell it with actual impact. It's always nice to be able to say lives saved or lives not lost. Reducing crashes, those type of things. Having data and metrics requires additional level of detail, but it also makes your story that much more compelling. Managing change, we're going to have a breakout session on that specifically, is when you do innovation, you are in a change environment. And then the last one, and this one was reinforced at almost, I think, every one of the workshops. We had leaders from the states say that they supported their staff when their staff made mistakes. They created an environment where people were willing to take risk. And when they had a failure, they learned from it and they grew. So celebrating and learning from mistakes and having the leadership rapport there is an essential element as well. So when you think about a network, any network, you first start out with just general awareness. All right, there's something called a STIC that's out there. Then you get involvement. You show up for a meeting and you see what it's all about. Then you might raise your hand and volunteer for something. Or if you miss a meeting, you might be volunteered, right? Then you start participating in it. But really the goal of this is Federal Highways wants everyone to own and look at the STIC as their product, not something that is managed from my office, not something that Federal Highways stood up. It's something that ownership is at the local level, and it grows into something that we didn't imagine it's even stronger. So any network, these are the stages that are in there, but really what we're hoping for is, especially for the younger STICs that are out there, is that there's ownership and growth that occurs. When you go to the website for my office, it says the National STIC Network is about establishing a group of representatives from various levels of the highway community in each state to comprehensively and strategically consider all sources of innovation. That's very aspirational, and I think that's something we need to keep in mind, is that not just innovation within our industry, but looking at crossover technologies as well. And in a few places, I think we're very much there, and we can learn from them. So the goal of a well-formed STIC is it's well-organized, has broad engagement, and I'd also consider has rotation of engagement, because like with all bodies, it can grow stale. Defined processes and procedures, so it doesn't appear to be a clique that people get together, that people actually know how it works and runs and operates. Has performance measures, so at the end of the year, not only can you share that compelling story, you can look back yourselves and say, hey, look what we accomplished this year. And then the leadership engagement is essential. From Federal Highways perspective, we have our most senior person in each state that is part of the STIC with our division administrator. And from the state, in many cases, we have a chief engineer or higher that is very actively engaged. That's essential for creating that environment where people are willing to take risks. The other thing as we go through today is this idea of a culture of innovation. If you go to the World Wide Web and you type that phrase in, you will get various from all industries, this idea of a culture of innovation. We can be the most innovative place. We can also be our own barrier. So how do we truly take and leverage this network so that we are open to things outside of what we've historically done and really grow from that? We have some money at the table. Sarah Lowry is up front here, and I hope everyone gets the chance to talk and say hi to Sarah. She gets to spend about $5 million each year, use or lose. If you ask for it, you get it, up to $100,000. Now, for a few states, like California, $100,000 is the change that is lost within the couch. But that $100,000 can do something like state travel, peer exchanges. It's over and above. And for many states, they're looking at this $100,000 as in addition to, because they have their own funds that they're leveraging for innovation. This has been a program that has just grown each year, and I continue to ask people to put your request in sooner than later, because you get to use it from October to September, and then the clock restarts for the $100,000. So today, what are we going to do today? This is meant to be a workshop, so if it appears that you're in a classroom-like environment, that's going to change very soon as we finish this first preliminary session. We're going to have 4 themes for a conversation. One is the actual origins of innovation, how you find it, what's the process that is used, and looking beyond EDC, and in my case, selfishly helping feed the EDC pipeline. Outreach and communication, how do we tell our story? And then managing change. So we're going to have a session on each one of those. You're going to have facilitators, and we're going to have some fun. That's the most important thing, too, as we go through this. So ask yourself this question, and this is kind of the fun of the job. Yes, that's really cool. And if we just did this, we could accelerate innovation even faster. What is that blank? What is the who, the how, the why, the what? What do we need to do differently? And let's try it. And if it doesn't work, we'll learn from it and move on. But the question I want you to ask yourself today and every day is, how can we really meet the demands of our end user and strengthen what we do with innovation as one of the key tools? Innovation@dot.gov.